based on the experience to helping the friends.
Yeah.
But my father, with his past experience in working restaurant, wanted to do it because he wanted to have a place where his friends come in. And so with encouragement, and then in 2010, that's when they opened Padaek. It was called Bangkok Golden. Was for 7 years until the landlord finally allowed us to change the storefront.
Because he was like, bro, you're not going to be bringing you're putting your name up there. Like, what the fuck? You know what's funny? And I'm skipping all over the place here because, I went to Avenue M, and when I talked to Chef Andrew, he was telling me about how when they got the Avenue M space, they had to keep the name for 5 years.
Oh.
And I'm like, that's so weird that people sell places and then they're like, you can't name it what you want. Was the name of the place that they had bought already an existing restaurant?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was there for 5 years.
Okay, got you. Yeah. So the guy basically was like, I don't want to... Did he own the building?
Yeah, it was it's a big company, and I think they were just no... they were just not very responsive, and I think at the time I was kind of in and out working in the fan business because I was in high school, then I went to culinary school, then I worked in New York for a bit and in DC, so I was kind of in and out. But I think I started to help them out with changing the name because people were confused because they're like, oh, you have Lao food, but you're a Thai restaurant. So I was like,
exactly.
So we finally able to change the name, and I think that my mother felt very more it's her place now.
Got you.
Because there's actually there's 2 other Bangkok Goldens around. Yeah. So when you have a bad Yelp review, they write it, and then they're like, no.
And all 3 restaurants suffer. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, we don't serve that.
Yeah, we don't do that. Got you. So I guess it gave her a sense, more confidence than she already had, right? Opening a place.
Yeah.
To really do what she wanted to do, food wise.
Yeah.
Okay. But let's get back to you.
Yeah.
You said high school. Any interest during high school? Sports like that? Or?
Yeah, I played. I played while I was in football, track and field.
Okay.
Much. I think that's when around sophomore year is when I got into cooking because there's a home ec class thing, but my school has a culinary program in the same division of the high school where there's actual restaurant style equipment and setup.
Yeah.
So I remember seeing it's only for the junior seniors. I remember seeing them wear checker pants and the red whatever that mushroom hat looking thing and the white coat, and I was like, I want to be like that. So I got into the program, and it was cool because I can just go in and actually practice breaking down chickens. I can just walk down the hall and just go in there and be like, can I break down the chicken?
Yeah.
So it was really cool, and that's when my instructor was a graduate at the Culinary Institute of America, and that's where I ended up going. And
is that why you made that choice? Because he went there?
Yeah, and she encouraged me, and then my parents didn't want me to be in the restaurant because they're like, no, you should.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. But I had to prove it to them, show them why, and I was like, I want cooking to be more of a journey for me. I want cooking to help me create a language for myself where I can actually understand more about the culture versus actually speaking in a native tongue because that's kind of challenging for me. And that I went to culinary school. Then I went back home and I worked for Johnny at Mini Bar by Jose Andres, and 5 days a week I was line cook, and then 2 days a week I'm running my family business. It was kind of very challenging, but about a year some change, I was thinking about actually going to work in San Francisco.
Okay.
But it didn't feel right, so I ended up coming back and basically taking over. So in a very short period of time at the time, it was 2015, I went from line cook to chef owner a snap.
Yeah.
And I felt kind of confident, but I would say it was very quite challenging. The first year or two, I was probably not the best version of myself.
Okay, 100%.
I think I've taken a lot of roles and responsibilities, and I feel like I still do now. we're trying to grow. That we end up opening the Hanumanh, the cocktail bar that I mentioned before, and we had a fast casual concept in Northern Virginia, but we closed that November last year.
Okay.
And
just due to COVID?
Due to COVID, and it was just like it's just like a fancy mall that was never busy, so it felt like it wasn't really worth to be there anymore.
Heard.
And so the goal was like, especially the pandemic, is to like let's try to keep this restaurant Thip, Khao and Padaek, because they're the longest standing for sure. So I try to help, like when I'm like I try to help my mom as much as I can, because this is her restaurant, this is her story, and this is her food.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to like, how can we bridge more of her story out there more into like the dining experience. And then for me, I still will love to do something that's like more of my identity, like the Laotian American style. So that's something in the works.
Heard that. I mean, it's kind of like the Yangban society over there in LA, with John being Korean, growing up in Chicago. You know what I mean? It's just like you have those struggles. Your family treats you a certain way, school treats you a certain way. And, I went to school sometimes with rice and beans, but everybody knows that the Asian kids be bringing that work. You know what I mean? Like, you get in there and they're like, what does that smell? Like the fish sauce and stuff like that. And when you don't know it, you're like, oh, you know what I mean? But then as you start getting more educated, you're like, damn, I would have loved to eat that lunch rather than the fucking pizza and the fish sandwich on Friday, Yeah. So you go to culinary school. Where was your internship?
My internship was Budokan, which was
no fucking way,
in Chelsea.
Yeah.
You've been there?
But you hear about it all the time.
It's massive. 325 star restaurant group, 1,000 covers on a slow night.
Yeah.
But I loved it because, in that 6-month period, they allowed me to work every single station.
Oh, word.
Including pastry and including front of house.
So, it seems like they had their system down.
Yeah.
Like, they knew exactly what they were going to do with their interns.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, it was cool because
that's great.
And also, I wanted to still meld myself in the modern Asian realm, because that's kind of what I wanted to do. And, they allowed me to do more versus other restaurants or, give me a prep. Actually, funny thing is I really, really, really wanted to extern, but also work at the restaurant Meadowood.
Okay.
And I've emailed a bunch of people, whatever was on their website, a bunch of times, and I got no responses.
Okay.
And I was like, I was like, I want to go, and then it got to a point where okay, I need it. I'm really close to when the externship started, so that's when I got the Budokan.
You just had to do it, yeah.
Yeah, but I really, really wanted to go there.
What year is this?
So 2011, 2012.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
That's when you wanted to go to Meadowood?
Yeah.
Heard that.
I remember I would watch YouTube, countless YouTube videos or whatever was around, and would watch the kitchen there, and I was like, I'd never seen a kitchen like that, with the social media at the time, whatever, just seeing what that was. I was I wanted to go there. So.
Dude, I spent so much time watching YouTube videos about that place that made me want to go there and get a job.
Yeah.
But you know what? That's funny. We were talking about earlier, getting the door closed on you,
mm-hmm.
Or not having an opportunity to do something you really want to do, and it hurts your feelings, but it hurts in a good way, because then you're like, all right, motherfuckers, I'm going to show you. You know what I mean? Watch me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, cool. So you did your internship at Budokan, and after that internship, what do you have school left? Right,
yeah,
to do?
Came back. There was the remainder of the associates program.
Yeah,
finished that off. Helped work the family business for a couple months, and then I went back to CIA to do the bachelor's program, because I was like, okay, well, my family has a business, or businesses.
You might as well learn the business side.
Yeah, so I was like, that was important. So I did that, and then right before I graduated that, I reached out to Johnny, because I've known him for a couple years, because he had a restaurant. He opened his first restaurant that I really wanted to work at.
Gotcha. Yeah, he told me about
I'm pretty sure he mentioned it to you, and it fortunately closed. And then I saw he was at Minibar, and then actually back to the externship part.
Yeah.
Minibar was the other opportunity I wanted to go to.
The other choice.
But they wouldn't accept because it was like actually a bar inside of Cafe Atlantico.
Okay.
So they were like, we're just a 4-man crew. I'm like, okay. So it was cool because like I wanted to work for Johnny, then I want to work at Mini Bar because they relocated with a bigger space. And I was like, I reached out, came down July 4th weekend. I stashed for one day. He gave me the job, and I was like, that's my opportunity, like work for Johnny and work at Mini Bar. And so after I graduated, like a week later, I started working at Mini Bar. And I that was the first time I exposed myself to like all these modern technology and ingredients from all over the world. Like I didn't know some of them, and I was able to like really build my craft, but then also trying to work on that balance of like also I'm owning a restaurant, and I think the moment the pivotal moment was like I remember I was not very nice to like the GM at the time, and I remember Johnny like ran to me and he was just like he grabbed me by the collar and stuff, and he's like, hey, like I need to talk to you. So he's like telling me that like I shouldn't be disrespecting the GM because I'm at the same level. That means you're disrespecting me, and I have totally 100% respect for Johnny, like even now. And he started to talk to me about like he's like, oh, when is the last time you went on a date? He's like, when's the last time you went to the movies? When's the last time you hang out with your younger brother? And I was like, I couldn't answer it. And he's like, you just need to, I know you're working with your family and you're here, but you need to like live your life as like I think I was like 21-year-old.
That's what he said. He's like, I told him to go be a 21-year-old.
Yeah. And I don't know why like that moment, and I even used that same like experience to like the younger people that are like that I'm mentoring or whatever.
Yeah.
And I really like took that as like really hard. Like he sent me home, and it was the first time I ever got sent home, and I really realized that I need to not take everything too seriously, because I feel like the things that I bring out at work, it kind of carries over to like my personal life.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think that's when like my relationship with my parents can be challenging, especially where we do work with each other. Yeah. And sometimes we butt head a lot, and we still do now. But I realize I'm in a good relationship now, and I have 2 Yorkies, and like I really get to like work on that, finding that balance, especially with the pandemic too. So, and
live a life.
Yeah, and then I think then like I really learned to calm down, and I feel like I was able to teach myself or learn myself better about how to make the business better and like make it more manageable. Yeah. But then also like realizing that enjoy yourself a bit, take a break for a bit, and so yeah.
That's an important lesson, and I love that Johnny did that, because I've had to do that a couple of times. Yeah. Where it's like the cooks are being rude to the general manager or a floor manager, and it's just like, first of all, you have no right. You know what I mean? Like, they're doing their job. And when you become a chef, you understand the difference between the two sides, so you respect it more. And I think when you're a cook coming up, you have no fucking clue what it's like to be a server unless you've done that before. Mm-hmm. And it's very easy to be like, they're not doing their job. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And you have to trust, right? You trust your family. When you work at a restaurant, this is your family. You have to trust that everyone has the best intentions and want to do the right thing. Yeah. That's funny that he told me that story at dinner after we had sent you the picture of us. And he was like, oh, make sure you ask him this. So it's kind of crazy that you just, brought it up, and that it affected you so heavily, and kind of, basically changed the whole course of your life, no?
He did. And I mean, like I mentioned, like even though I don't work for him, he's probably the only person that I probably call him chef, like verbally. And he's like, God damn it, he's like, you don't work for anymore, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, but I think it's like that level of respect.
It's like him. Dad.
Yeah, so, every time I see him, like, we always like talk, and I can talk to him about. I feel like I learn a lot, not only about like how to better myself in my career, but also as like just a person. And even like now that he is about to open another restaurant, he has 2 kids, and I'm like, this guy is like the most hardest working person. He comes in the restaurant like probably like 7 a.m. every day still, and he says like to raised 2 kids and also has 2 dogs now. I'm like,
yeah.
I'm like,